All right, welcome to another episode of Throttle Stop Garage. Okay, in this episode, what we're going to try to get done is a few other little details before this frame goes back into the car. I'm not too sure, again, how many times it's going to have to go in and out before I can get rid of this jig off my welding table. And actually, I got some TIG welding to do today, and I got to weld it on this table because, well, I might actually move everything off the table. What the heck? At any rate, so I've got a bunch of things to do. I've got some the brackets again that we talked about probably in the last episode. Again, I'm a little mixed up as to where I am in the whole video shoot process. I know you'll forgive me, but I had to make those brackets again to relocate where the anti-roll bar mount is going to fit on the car on that lower control arm. So I've got that mount to weld up because I only have it sort of roughly finalized at this point. So we'll do that. We'll finish it. We will get on to making some motor mounts, right? So that's super important. I'm starting to feel you hit these points in the project where you actually start to feel like you're going to make some progress. Motor mounts, that's a big deal. And I'll take you through the process of developing that motor mount. I see them on YouTube fairly frequently. I don't always like the way they're done. I'll just cover some of the details that I think should be there. Win, lose, or draw. At this point, it doesn't much matter to anybody, but we'll do that. So we got that to do. And there's some other just finalization work to do here prior to another mounting into the car. I think when I get the frame mounted into the car next time, there's only going to be a couple things that need to be done before it comes out again. One, I need to mark off where all the spot welds are going to go for the back section of the frame. I need to get that sheet metal or whatever I'm going to use. The riser done for the foot pedals. So I need to sort of get that all torqued around there so I can get that sheet metal created. And I need to get some things finalized, like where's the transmission going to sit? What's the angle the engine's going to sit at? All of that kind of stuff has got to get done in a further episode, and then it's got to come out again. But that also means the engine has to come in and out of this car. And I don't have a hoist. I don't have an engine hoist. I have an overhead track. It's a barn door track. And I have a neighbor who has a hoist. But we've had a long winter here in Canada, I got to tell you. And there's no way I'm getting his hoist down the back alley right now. It's completely rutted. It's still with ice, and geez, even in a month, it'll probably still be like soup. So we're going to have to figure out how to get that engine in and out of here without that hoist. But once we get that done, hey, it's all gravy work at that point, right? Hey, I've talked for way too long. Let's get to work. Okay, everybody, it's engine time. I just thought we'll take you for a quick tour of reasonably modern Volvo engines. So here we have a pair of 5-cylinder aluminum blocked, aluminum head. They're 5 cylinders, so 20 valve engines, commonly known as a white block. They're not white. I presume that red block was always in reference to the fact that the blocks were red. White blocks are in reference to the fact that they're just bare aluminum. Therefore white? I don't know. I've never have figured that out. Now I'm an old pushrod guy, right? So I like the old pushrod engine, but actually in the garage at the moment I have one of everything. So I have a B20 that's sitting. I should point to these things. I have a rather stout B20 that's over here. Okay, it's under here. It used to be in this car, so it's all 160 horsepower. It's all polished. It's all fancy. Some of you may have seen it on the internet. It still exists, people. I haven't sold it. I haven't taken it apart. It's waiting for another car project. Maybe a wagon. I don't know. Anyway, and then back over here, I have the overhead cam red block. This is a weird one, right? Because this is out of my 242. This is a B23E. For the American viewers, you guys never saw this engine. This is the Euro spec engine. Canada got it the same year you guys got the B21 FT, the turbo. There is now a B230 FT in my 242. I think aside from engines like the B16, I have one of everything in the garage. No wonder I don't have any room Or as my wife says, it's not that you need a bigger garage, you need less junk. She's right. Anyway, so here are the 2 white blocks. Now, being an old pushrod guy, right, from back in the day, everything changes on these stupid things, right? On a pushrod engine, I can take the oil pan and the oil pump and everything. I can put it on this B23 over here, the E. I just have to stand it up a little differently. But I mean, they all interchange. The bolts are the same. Everything's the same. Volvo was epically lazy. Well, a small company couldn't afford to develop engines for all time. At any rate, so I figured when I went forward to the white block world, it'd be same, right? Why would you change your corporate pattern? And in fact, everything's different, and they change them a lot to the point where you actually need a VIN number to get the right belts, to get the right... It's almost insanity for a person like me. I suppose what it is that's the new way we do things. At any rate, it is kind of funny. So over here, this is my mock-up block, so it's stripped bare, so I'm not Hercules. When I pick this thing up, it doesn't weigh much. Like, it probably weighs a couple hundred pounds, which, you know, I don't even think it weighs that. Maybe it's 150 pounds. I don't know. With ancillaries, might be 200 pounds, but I take those off normally when I move it around. But I think I could probably curl this thing. Like, it doesn't weigh anything at all. It's mystical. So this is out of an 850. It's pretty worn out, and there is no reason to go forward with it because I have another engine. The things that differentiate the two, this is called an N block by Volvo, and this is a revised N. This is an RN. There's lots of stuff on the internet that distinguish the two. There's a couple of different variants of the RN. This is an earlier variant of the RN. We have no information on where this engine came from or what car it was in or any of that kind of stuff. I got it from a friend who was a Volvo tech at the time. You know, I get an email and it says, do you want an engine? Or it was a post on the forum. You want an engine for 150 bucks? Yeah, I want an engine for 150 bucks, don't you? So I paid 150 bucks. It had no head. The idiot that had the car popped the head. And I know they're an idiot. I'm not being unkind. Because I've opened up this engine and it's about the dirtiest thing inside that I've ever seen. One of them anyway. So I think they thought, oh, Volvo, you know, it goes forever. Well, it doesn't go forever if you don't change the oil sparky. So at any rate, that's not the reason the head blew. Volvo wanted the head back. They didn't want the bottom end back. So they had this bottom end in the shop and they were going to scrap it. And it's reasonably low kilometers. I am going to take it out to first oversize on pistons and things. But it didn't have a cylinder head. So long story short, I could use the variable valve timing cylinder head, the later cylinder head. It flows a little better. That's mostly, I'll discuss all of this in great detail as I want to do. Sorry about that. But I'll discuss it all in great detail when we actually get into doing the port work and other stuff related to the engine. It is one of the things I really enjoy doing. It's kind of a lot of fun. And there's a lot of mysticism that surrounds it, and it's not mysticism at all. It's just physics. So if you understand a little bit of that, you're a danger to yourself and others. Remember that. At any rate, I understand how most of that works. So we'll make this 850 head. So this is an earlier head. The heads interchange, right, thankfully, and almost nothing else does. I mean, stupid stuff like water pumps and other things, yeah, okay, they interchange. But even the brackets on the side. So yeah, I ended up without ancillaries for this engine, without a head for this engine. At any rate, so as we get chugging along, I didn't have lots of stuff for it, but I had some stuff for it. And after getting really frustrated with the fact that parts don't interchange between the engine that I bought over here, this 850 engine, thinking, wow, this is going to be, I'll just take the ancillaries and just bolt them on to the RN. They don't bolt onto the RN because the bracket doesn't fit. It doesn't have all of the same mount points. And some of those mount points are used for important ancillaries, like alternators and other things that are hanging, power steering pumps. I have 4 different power steering pumps for this one engine. And they all just fit, you know, over there, but they have different size pulleys, they have different pumps. They have, some of them are internal reservoir, external reservoir. Volvo, stop it. You're making it hard for us guys in the aftermarket to play with your junk. At any rate, so this is set up as my mock-up block mainly because the oil pan works. Okay, so that's still fine. And the other bits and pieces that I need are still, I mean, physically it's the same size. So that's really all I need for a mock-up. And I don't want to strip this block down until I'm really ready to rock and roll with it, right? So sometime later on this summer, I hope to be taking all this stuff apart, taking it in the machine shop. I'm going to get them to pull a couple of tricks on it for me and then do the basic rebuild. Then we're going to throw tons of boost at it and we're going to have fun. But for today, what we're going to be working on is motor mounts. So again, I've made the ubiquitous cardboard template. And the funniest part about this was when I made these the first time, honestly, I didn't tape any of that. It was almost, I think maybe I did. It was an embarrassment, so I tossed it out. Like, why wouldn't you think, with all the other differences in this, there's no chance that these mount holes are going to be the same block to block, is there? There's just none anymore. Where, you know, again, from the old stuff, they still left mount ears on for no reason that we could figure out. At any rate, the mount holes are different. The ones that you may have to pick up to get this to work between the two engines. You need to figure out where things go before you go and put your, this is the driver's side template here, before you go and put these things in. Don't ask me for the CAD files because I'd have to send you the cardboard. That obsession, right? Watch the Binky build. It's great fun. Better than what I'm doing, I'm sure. But I've marked off the holes that I can pick up here, right, on this particular block. So I've got the holes marked. I've created a template for it, but I've also done things like put the starter in on the and then you know there's a bracket on the back of the starter. I don't know why it's there. It probably isn't necessary, but they put it there, so I'll put it back there, and it goes in a place. And then you know you've got to account for the leaky, forever leaky crankcase ventilation system on these things, and you know there's all that kind of junk that I needed on both engines. You know you don't want to go putting your motor mount where you need to put a knock sensor, right? These are modern engines, so they're not like old donkey stuff that doesn't have these kind of jazz on it. And then on the passenger side, on this engine, it was merely working around the fact that this has a pan attached oil cooler. We're going to be running a front mount oil cooler, which comes off of this 960 pan. So this is off the 6-cylinder engine, and I shortened it by a cylinder and welded it all up. So I was going to try to take you kind of off and show you these differences, but this is the space I have. I'm just going to throw this engine back in the hole, slide this somewhere where it isn't getting in my way terribly. I verified that my patterns are correct, and I know that, you know, if I put them basically, if I set them then approximately where they might be on the other block when I set them in, I have a hole or two that I can pick up. But it is going to be a bit of an adventure, I think. So there's going to be some tricks there. Okay, so enough chatter. Let's get back to work. Okay, so we're now working on getting the patterns finished up for the engine mount plates. So I started actually with some cardboard templates. Then I make a few notes on them. These are mostly just to pick up hole locations, get a general shape of things. But of course, the cardboard is it's pretty flexible. This is the one for the driver's side of the engine, and I've got a few things to work around. I've got both the PCV system is fitting in over here, and the oil pressure sensor goes there. So I got some constraints to work around. I lay out the holes. Then I switch those patterns, mostly because I just want to get this as accurately done as I can. I switch them over to 1/4-inch masonite. There's a little bit more representative of what the steel will be. It's not, obviously, it's not flexible. So we're going to have, I have found that if I do the cardboard patterns and then I lay them in, sometimes I'm flexing them around things, you know, to get them to work. And then you end up making a mess later. So, and then I can also start removing some other areas. So initially I had marked out some of the constraints. Of course, in the cardboard version, it was pretty easy to get the cardboard around that sensor, pretty hard to get the wood around it. So the wood is giving me a better sense as to where things are actually going to lie. And this line here I'd cut in simply to clear the PCV, sort of that box canister thing. And that's obviously, I'm not going to be putting a motor mount bracket here, that would be a little ridiculous. So motor mount bracket's probably fitting in here somewhere. I have to do a few measurements more before I go and commit to cutting this off. And then you'll notice little details like the two lines here at the top weren't straight. Well, it's really hard when you're sort of crouched down beside the engine to get everything sort of lined up so that it won't end up looking kind of funny. So we just straighten a few lines out, get the relative orientation of these holes right, and then we'll finish up final prepping the wood pattern to what I need it to be. I'll test fit those on the engine, and then we'll cut it in steel, and we'll do it once, and it should be just fine. Essence, the finished motor mounts. We move over into the steel. The other thing about these wooden ones is once you've got them in, you can bolt them in and test them. Make sure the holes are exactly where you want. In this case, I needed to move this one and this one just up a bit, and I've given myself an indication. I then took a round file and filed them perfectly so they were just where I wanted them. Then those holes get transferred using transfer punches over to the steel. And I've cut these out, and I haven't ground them to shape again. We'll do that in a sec. But when I offered these up to the block, they just mounted right in. So they fitted in perfect. And these are close holes. So they're not... you can give them more clearance if you need to. But if you check your machining handbook, you can do holes kind of normal, or you can do the fit close. These are fit close, and they fit right in. Perfect. So both sides. Now remember, on the plate on this side... which is the, I got to think about it, that'd be the passenger side of the engine. We've added in the extra bolt here, hole here, which isn't really needed in any way. Like, this is just gratuitous. A little M8 here beside all these M10s isn't going to hurt, or isn't going to do much in terms of clamping force. But that's the hole that I need in order to transfer over to the other block. So anyway, it didn't change much as we went through. That one was pretty straightforward from paper to wooden pattern. All right, we'll get back to work here, get some grinding done. got the motor mounts have gone in. Actually, we just didn't turn the cameras on to record the making of them. Yeah, you already saw how the parts were made, and then you can see that, you know, we've got a piece of tube running from the mount plate here over to the bushing, and then the brackets mounted. It's just tacked onto the frame right now. So you can see here we've got a little bit of excess in this mount. We don't really need all of this over here, so we'll be cutting some of that off just to sort of neat and tidy it up. You never know what you need before you do it, so having a little bit too much is fine. Speaking of too much, on this side of the engine you can clearly see we've got acres more mount plate here than I need. So just grab my light. So that'll be just fine. We'll get that all. We'll get those cut back, ground out of there, and then that particular job, once welded, is done. So there you can see it mounted onto the frame. That's how it'll go. There will, of course, be gusseting on the tube part there. No worries, we'll get that done when we get it done. All right, next up I'll show you how all of this got welded and how it all turned out.